We're working through all the free video tutorials for the Husqvarna Viking Brilliance 75Q. You can find a complete list that in the description that you can start watching from the beginning, but here we're going to explain tension. Now on this machine, we do have what is considered automatic tension. Now what does that mean, and why do I sometimes have to explain to students that it doesn't mean that you don't have to adjust it? For example, if you're ever using a different thread in your needle than you have in your bobbin, which I currently have a totally different thread in my bobbin today, they are no longer balanced. So as you start with a straight stitch, most of the time the machine is going to get you into a ballpark for tension adjustment. So for example, if you look here, if you're just on your regular screen, go ahead and touch your edit tab, your tension is sitting at 4.6. So for a straight stitch, that's what it is. But if we go over to a zigzag and touch that same function, the number is now 5.4. So it's getting you into an area of, like I said, a ballpark for getting good tension for that stitch. If we jump over to a decorative stitch, look what happens when we find something with some satin stitching. The tension is 2.4. For example, another one would be if we go to buttonholes. That's going to give us a whole nother grouping of tension, and also kind of down in that 2.4. We want the stitches to kind of pull to the back side so you get a really pretty satin stitch for a buttonhole or for a decorative stitch. So this is going to give you a great way to look at it. So here's a satin stitch. We're doing some tapering, so we're showing how to do that. Yes, there's tapering stitches in this machine. But as we flip it over, we see that the pretty variegated thread is pulled to the back side, and you do see that you see less of the bobbin thread, so that's that pink that you kind of see there. Now, if that's so you don't get any bobbin thread showing on the top. Same thing for decorative stitches. You want all the pretty parts to be showing and it pulled to the back side. So here's how we also look at it. So if you have any bobbin thread that's coming to the top, what you can do, here, let's just get back to a straight stitch, just to make it easy here. So if you have any bobbin thread coming up to the top, what we want to do is relax it. So it go back down, or at least down, so when you flip your fabric over, you don't want to be able to tell what side you stitched from. They should be identical. So if it is pulling to the top, we need to relax it. That means let loose or smaller number. And when you touch this, notice that it goes from 4.6 to 4.4. So it's a very small increment, probably even not enough change for you to see any difference. So I always recommend to my students, if you feel you need to adjust tension, and remember, is it really a tension problem? Do you need a different needle? Maybe you're not using a great quality thread. Maybe you have some other issues. You haven't cleaned it in a while. Those are all things to make sure that you have done before you start altering tension. And I think that's why people get a little scared of it, is because they don't know what's going on, and so they think it's just the tension's fault. And it's usually not. But if I am coming down to a smaller number, let's go down a whole number. Remember, we started at 4.6. So let's take it down to 3.6. Start that stitching again. Look on the back side. Does it look more balanced, or does it look worse? Now, if it looks worse, maybe you went the wrong direction. So you went lower just because you can't remember. Remember, you have a 50-50 shot with this. But so go the other way, and it's not going to hurt anything. So maybe you go and make it tighter, and now it's looking like the way you're supposed to, that you're wanting it to see. So don't be afraid, and if it's getting better but it's not all the way, keep going. There's nothing that says that you can't reduce or increase the tension until you get the results that you're wanting. And again, sometimes I'm using a really thick thread here and a thinner thread down below, and I have to balance it out. So yes, I'll be kind of on the extreme change to see that there. Now, another place we really see it is when we free motion quilt. A lot of times we get like it looking where it kind of looks like you can almost see, and it doesn't look that great. You can kind of do what I call the scratch test, and I can feel that. It really shouldn't be showing on the back side. I really want to be able to see or have it so it looks the same on both sides, you really want the two threads, the top and bottom, to kind of match or connect right here in the batting. So you can't tell what side you've stitched from, and that's when you really know you have a pretty look. So you can go up or down based on what you're seeing on your fabric. Always do a little test. That's why we recommend having some fabric stabilizer if you're doing some decorative stitches. Test it over here. Do you need any tension adjustment? Now, if you adjust it for one stitch, maybe you are stitching out your stitch book, which we highly recommend. Check out those videos in the links below if you don't know what a stitch book is. But if you're stitching out a little sampling of all your stitches and you end up reducing or changing the tension to this stitch, when you go to your next stitch, it's in its own default. So you're not really changing the tension for every single stitch. So if you are noticing you need a little bit of a tension adjustment for these stitches, for the threads you're using, you are going to need to adjust it as you do each stitch. Once again, a quick reason to do a sampling before you put it on your actual project. Make sure it looks to the best that it could look like. So don't be afraid of tension. Know that you can change it up or down if you don't remember which way it's supposed to go. One makes it worse, one makes it better. Do use good quality threads. When was the last time you changed the needle? And don't forget to clean out down below in this area before you start really changing tension, because it could be just you need to clean it out or change the needle or put the right size of needle on, or maybe just get a better quality of thread. So those are all things that we always talk about before altering tension. But if you find yourself with two different weights of thread, one upstairs, one downstairs, you probably are going to need to balance it out and have some fun doing it, and don't be afraid to try out different settings. I hope you'll check out all of our videos. We've got a link to a complete playlist right here at the end or in the description. And if these have been helpful for you, make sure you like the videos after you watch them, and then support our channel by clicking subscribe. Happy sewing!